So, series, we're continuing Savage Jesus this week. I'm really excited about it. Now, I told you last week, I picked this series for two reasons. And the two reasons are, first off, Jesus actually is savage. He's fierce, and he does things his own way without caring about the consequences of his actions, which is an Urban Dictionary that defines savage. The second thing is, a lot of people, when they hear this, is they think, what? Savage and Jesus in a church? That doesn't seem right to be talking about those two things. Well, I want that reaction from you, from everybody, because I want our language here on Wednesdays to be the same as it is when we're at school, when we're with our friends. Yes, this is a church. Yes, this is holy and where God is, but God is also with you out in school, out in your life. So I want our language to be the same as it is when we're out in school as we are when we're in church. So that's why we're doing that. With that said, let's dive into this week's message. Now, to be savage, I want to give you the definition again. To be savage is when someone does something outrageously cool or hilarious that requires zero to negative chill. This, again, is Urban Dictionary. Does anybody use Urban Dictionary? Yeah, all right. So, 0 to negative chill. Who says that? But anyways, it says, being called this, savage, gives you respect from those who call you it. Well, most people think becoming savage has to be from dominating, or being better, or being first, or being the one that's the best amongst your friends and the people around you. Now, I want you to think, have you thought that before? That the way you gain someone's respect is purely by being faster than them, or being smarter than them, or better looking, or more caring, or the most athletic, or the most strategic, or the one who's just straight up better. Honestly, I personally get sucked into this all the time, or thinking that way all the time. Right now, there's this new thing that I'm really into. It's called Strava. I'm guessing you haven't heard of it. Has anybody heard of Strava before? All right, so Strava, it's this app that's on my phone. And I'm a really big runner and biker. So what I do is I'll go run a long distance or run a long distance. And on this app, you can set up these segments or spots where you would run up a hill. And it's on a street. Well, then what it does, this app, is it tracks every person that does this section of this road, and it sees who does it the fastest. So for me, I'm addicted to this thing. I got to see if I'm the fastest. So this was a recent activity I did. This is a bike ride. So I did 18.8 miles, and then it shows me my awards up there. You see that yellow and that bronze thing. It shows me that I placed. And then if you go to the next page, it shows me the times of people that have done it before. So a couple of those people are my friends. They've done it faster than me. So I'm down here, 33 seconds. My friends did it in 23. I'm what? What? And I just start thinking I have to get out there and beat them. I have to be faster than them. I need their respect as a really great athlete. So I got to go after it. I need to dominate. And this app, it tells me if I'm the king of the mountain, is what they call it, KOM. If I'm the king of the mountain or not. And I want people's respect being the king of the mountain. Now, there are other ways that I've pursued trying to gain people's respect. This is one that I deal with right now. But when I was in middle school or high school, it was more on who I dated. I wanted people's respect on who I dated. I wanted more respect on how my grades were. Hey, I got a 4.0. What'd you get? I wanted respect on the things I had, check out my shoes, check out what I'm wearing, check out the phone I have. I wanted respect on my ability of sports, of being the captain or being the best. I wanted respect on my ability in video games, actually, of being someone who's really good. And for you guys, maybe it's getting this, the victory. Has anybody ever gotten that? Oh, all right. Now, a lot of us think our respect from other people, it purely comes from our ability. And honestly, some of that's true. Our ability does help us gain respect. It helps us gain influence. It helps us become savage. And it helps us be really good leaders. Yet it's not the only thing that gains you respect. Jesus actually has people come up and talk to him about this. They want to figure out, Jesus, how do I become the most respected person in heaven? So what happens is, actually it starts with this mother. This mother comes up to Jesus back in the day, and I want you to pause before I go any further in the story. I want you to think, has your mom ever gone up to your coach before and was like, hey, my daughter or son is the best player on the team? Wouldn't that be kind of weird? You should put them in. Or, hey, will you make my child the best? That seems kind of weird, right? Well, this is what happens. Jesus is around, and this mom shows up. This mom comes up to Jesus and is like, hey, my two sons, they're your disciples. They're the people that have been following you. Could you make them your right and your left in heaven, the best two people in heaven? And then the sons are kind of following behind. I imagine kind of creeping, they want to hear what Jesus says. And Jesus is like, you don't even know what you're asking. You don't even know what you're asking to be the right and the left. And then the sons are like, yeah, we do. We want to be the right and the left. We want to be the best in heaven. How can we gain that respect? How can we be the most respected? Well, Jesus says specifically this to them. He says this to them. He says, you can't handle it. You won't be able to handle it. Do you think you can handle it? And they're like, yeah, of course. You won't be able to handle it. It's not the way it is in this world. It's way different how it will be in heaven. Well, then what happens is after that, Jesus and these two sons and the mom goes down and news starts getting out and people are like, did you have your mom go and ask to see if you could be the best? And everybody's like kind of getting mad at each other. They're like, wait, I want to be the best. Jesus, will you put me up in the top? Can I be the best? I want to be the best. And then Jesus is finally enough. And he responds saying this. Check it out. It's in Matthew 20. He says, but Jesus called them together and said, you know that the rulers in this world lord it over their people, and officials, the people in power, the people with power in this world, they flaunt their authority over those under them. But among you, it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first among you must become your slave. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as ransom for many. Most of them are like, I don't know if I want that. I don't know if I want that, to be a servant, to become the best. I have to be the servant or the slave. Well, Jesus here is savage because he becomes king by doing it his way in the complete opposite of everyone else. Jesus calls for this thing called servant leadership. Doesn't that sound kind of I think the word is an oxymoron. Has everyone heard of that before? The term it's servant leadership, they go together. Well, what Jesus is saying about servant leadership is he's saying you need to be a servant in order to be a leader for people. And not just a servant to God, a servant to others around you. So to be savage, Jesus is saying, to be savage and to gain someone's respect like Jesus did, it's not by being faster than them. It's not by being smarter than them or better looking or more caring or more athletic or more strategic or someone who's just straight up better. That's not how you gain someone's respect in the eyes of Jesus. It's through serving others and in your humility of saying, you know what, I'm willing to serve you. I'm willing to become a servant for my friends. They start to respect you. Now, how often does that happen these days? Where someone, your close friends are serving you? It doesn't happen really, right? So we're going to do actually 2 case studies with The Office. Is anybody into The Office, the show? All right, who's watched it at least? All right, I heard you guys love The Office, all right? So if you've never seen The Office, you're going to have to bear with me now. But I have 2 clips. I have one clip where we're going to watch, and we're going to have a multiple choice question to see which action they should have done to be more servant leader-like or more Christ-like. All right, so it's going to be kind of fun, but I want to see if you can start thinking about what it looks like to be a servant leader. All right, so here's the first clip. If you don't know the characters, you might have to bear with us for a bit. Here you go. Check it out.
So alike.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I'm rejecting your
What?
kiss.
I didn't. Can I have a ride home?
If you sit in the back.
He asks if you can have a ride home, and she says, you have to sit in the back. All right, now, what would a servant leader do in this situation? Again, this is just kind of fun to get you thinking about it. Would you accept the kiss as Pam? Would you do exactly what Pam, the girl in the video clip, did? Would you tell him off? Or would you do everything Pam did, but help him feel better and try to humble yourself as someone who has messed up before too? Which one do you think it is? Oh, all right. Hey, what's the answer? It's D. Yep, that's more servant leadership. All right, another one. Here we go. Last one. Check it out.
Thank you very much. Our suspect has straight brown hair. She is wearing blue jeans and a black top. So, behold our bachelorette. Give her a 10 for looks and a 3 for her ability to describe herself. Hello, my lady.
Michael?
Ah,
Are you Michael Scott?
so Michael what?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be meeting someone named Michael.
Oh, that's not, yeah. I'm not-
Michael? Michael? Large hot chocolate with caramel and a shot of peppermint.
Now, what would a servant leader do in this situation? Lie like Michael did? Tell the person off and that you're not interested? Sacrifice the hour meeting just to see or run away? Which one do you think the servant leader would do? Again, this is fun, and it is C. Well done. So you guys are starting to get the hang of it. Now, like I said, these are just fun, but when it comes to being a servant leader, you do things to help bring others up, your friends, the people around you. You don't care about the consequences of what others around you that aren't part of the situation think about you helping that person out. You just do it. Jesus teaches a direct example of this, and it's actually with washing feet. Now, who hates feet? Is anybody like gross? Yeah, I hate feet. They are nasty. They're like clammy. They're like sweaty usually. There's like an odor, like someone like trying to, like about to throw up. Yeah, they're just nasty. Who likes feet? Anybody like feet? All right. Keep your hands down if you like them. All right. Anyways, back in the day, in Jesus' time, they walked around everywhere with maybe just sandals or barefoot. Now, as they're walking around, when they'd go into someone's home, they would have a servant or a slave, actually at that time, wash the feet of the people as they walked into their house. So like they'd have this dinner party, somebody who owned the house would have a servant wash the feet, and everybody would have nice clean feet. Who would want to be that servant in that situation? No one, right? Well, what happens in Jesus' situation is he's hanging with his bros, and they come over, and Jesus decides to be the one who washes their feet. He's hosting the party, and he washes their feet. Now, that seems weird, right? The king is washing his followers' feet. It's kind of weird. Well, Jesus then tells his disciples that after he does this, This is the way a real leader lives, he says. This is what you should go out and do. He says this in John 13:14. Check it out. It says, "Now that I, your Lord or your King, your teacher, has washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you." Now, when Jesus says that, he's not just saying it to his disciples or the people with him. It's actually meant for all of us. He's saying, go and wash each other's feet. Now, I don't mean like go and wash your friend's feet right now, but there's kind of like this example of it that we see in the Bible. And there's kind of this weird thing. It's kind of a funny story. But my wife and I, we did this. We washed each other's feet. Yeah, let me explain once. When we got married, my wife and I, we've only been married 2 years. We got married at this church. And part of our marriage ceremony, so like at our wedding, here, check it out. Here's a picture. At our wedding, we washed each other's feet. Who thinks that's the weirdest thing ever? All right, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. She washed my feet. I washed her feet. And I'm not going to lie. Like when you're kind of nervous about something, your feet start sweating, you start getting a little stinky. Yeah, feet did not smell good in that situation. Yet we both washed our feet in front of everybody at the wedding. 200 people. All the seats were packed. We washed our feet in front of everybody. And I hate feet. Yet I did this to show that I'm here to serve my wife. I want to lead her. And what Jesus says, if you want to lead people, you got to wash their feet. My wife wants to lead me too, and she wanted to wash my feet to show me that she's willing to do whatever it takes to serve me and for her to lead me too. We gained each other's respect. And yeah, it's kind of a silly example, and it's not something you have to do with your friends right now. But it was a way for us to show each other that we're willing to serve each other so deeply that we're willing to touch nasty feet. We're willing to wash each other's feet. Now, both the act of Jesus washing his disciples' feet and what I did with my wife is an act that shows that we are willing to serve the people we are with some of the nastiest things, right? But then that action that we did made us leaders over each other through servant-like humility. Jesus could then, after he washed his disciples' feet, he could tell his guys to do anything, basically. He could tell them to do anything because he was first a servant to them, and they respected him. My wife and I, we're both willing to do anything for each other because we are both first servants to each other. What about you? What can you do to be a servant leader to the people around you? Maybe for you, like right now, your thing is sports. Maybe you're a servant leader on your team you're a really good player, but you carry the equipment. How many times do you see that where like the really good player carries the equipment? That's a servant leader. Or the one that fills the water bottles. Or the one who just creates positive energies, cheering for everybody on the team to get things going. You're the servant of the team to help get everybody fired up. And they gain respect from that. You gain respect from that. Maybe you're the one that compliments people. Maybe instead of sports, your thing right now is relationships, like with your parents, your friends. Maybe it's a boyfriend or girlfriend you have. Maybe you serve that other person in your relationship by putting their needs first. You have to do this thing, and then you're really passionate about doing this thing, but you know the person in your relationship needs this. So instead, you say, I want to serve you instead of doing the thing I need to get done. Maybe it's buying something for them. Like maybe you just show up randomly at your house and you're like, hey, mom and dad, I picked up pizza. Like that would be like a really great way to serve them. And they gain respect for you after you do that. Maybe it's do something nice for someone that wasn't expected. Again, this could be for your parents, your friends, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. Maybe your thing right now is school. School just started, or coming to church even. Maybe you're willing to sit by that person you know that wants to sit by you, so you serve them by being next to them. Maybe it's you give up your seat at church because you're like all can't pack into the front row, and you know someone really, really wants to be in the front row. So you give your friend that spot. I bet you they respect you for doing that, for serving them in that way. Or lastly, maybe you let someone tag along with you to church, to a sporting event, to a fun friend event, whatever it may be, even if that might embarrass you with the other friends around you. So as we leave today, I want to challenge you to be savage like Jesus and be a servant leader. So what we're going to do actually right now is I want you to close your eyes for a second. Close your eyes. And I want you right now to pick someone in your head you're going to be a servant leader to. Who is someone you are going to serve? It could be a person that's at school. It could be a parent. All right, you got the person? And then what I want you to do is I want you to pick what you're going to do for them. How are you going to serve them? And then I'm going to pray right now, actually, to have God help us follow through on these things, to actually serve this person and be a servant leader, to remind us to do that. If you want to pray along with me, you can. Hey, God, thank you for giving us the example of how to be a servant leader. I pray that we've said the person in our head, we set an action we want to do for them. I pray you remind us to follow through on it. Help us be a servant leader because that's what you've taught us to do and how to live, but also remind us that that's how we gain respect as well from our friends, from the people around us, and respect from you even. I pray you help us follow through on being a servant leader. In your name we pray, amen. All right, couple quick announcements for you.